If you spend money like everyone else, then you're guaranteed to live like everybody else. Most people in trading don't fail because of charts. We fail because we're already undisciplined when it comes to our money, right? Before we even take a trade, we are already taught by society how to be undisciplined when it comes to actual wealth. So, this video, this is what I want to talk to you guys about: learning how to manage your money and how it affects you as a trader, right? And this is exactly what we talk about in our private group, because on Fridays, it is our financial Friday where we go over topics like budgeting, money mindset. We also go over taxes. We go over how to pay off debt. We're going to go through all of this in the private group, and I want to share this with you guys. But if you guys like this video, give me a like and subscribe, please, just to help the algorithm. I think a lot more traders need to watch videos like this. Instead of watching a video about how I made 30,000, I want you guys to start making 30,000, right? And also, if you enjoy this type of content and you're learning a lot just from these videos, imagine being inside our inner circle in the private group, the type of trader that you're going to be, because we just don't go over trading, right? What we do in a private group: fitness, we have personal development on Sundays. Fridays, we also do Bible study. And remember, on Fridays is our finance. And also through Monday through Friday is nothing but trading. Everything regarding fundamentals. We focus on central banks, economic data, news events, all three sessions. Okay, guys? But now let's talk about this, right? The reason why I want you guys to get very familiar with how you budget your money impacts your trading career. Just the mindset itself. If right now, if everybody in this world was given $1 million, right? Who you think is going to come up on top and who you think is going to lose it all? It's just this type of education, right? No, obviously the people that are already millionaires, billionaires, they're going to find a way to get their money up to the top again. And people that are already poor and broke, they're just going to end up losing it, right? So we understand that it's just not a money problem. Like right now, do you trust yourself to trade $1 million? Because most people think it is just a money problem. Oh, if I had $1 million account, I'll be this different trader. That's not true. If you can't manage $100 account, you can't manage $1,000 account. If you can't manage 1,000, you cannot manage anything more than that. So when I'm talking about how the paycheck cycle, right? Because a lot of people, we work 9 to 5 jobs and we want our financial freedom. But the problem is the way we handle our money is like how everybody else in society handles their money. I'm a perfect example. When I first started working, I was working security, right? Making $800 every 2 weeks. And after that second week, right? Like obviously the first way you get that money, you eating steak, you eating lobster, you eating real good. You buying stuff. Then at the end of the week, you end up finding yourself eating peanut butter jelly sandwiches, right? Because now you're struggling, surviving to get to that next paycheck. Then what happened after that? I got a better job. I was making more money. Same cycle. End of the week, ended up broke, right? Making a little more money, right? At that time, I tell you guys, like we're family, I was making around 50,000 a year, but it was a lot more money with my security job, but my habits when it came to how I budget my money, nobody taught me how to be disciplined when it comes to my actual wealth, right? The way when we get paid, how do we spend our money? How do we control it, right? By everybody else that we look up to. Like if you see how people spend their money, they get a paycheck, they just buy things, they pay their bills, and then that's it. They have to live check to check, right? So work, get paid, spend, repeat. That's what we deal with in society. That's the slave cycle that we all are dealing with, right? So how does that add up to trading, right? Did anybody teach you how to manage your account? No. When you watch videos, they just teach you charts. Oh, buy here, sell here. This like, take advantage of this trade, this moving averages, right? But they're not telling you risk management. They don't tell you how to manage your account, how to handle losses, how to place stop losses. They don't teach you the stuff to maintain. And it's the same habits that we have when we have our actual money, right? So when I first started, when I hear about budgeting, I used to think that was always a broke mindset. It's like, man, I ain't never budgeting, right? Like, man, just make more money. That was always my mindset. Just make more money, make more money. Even when I was doing successful at trading, I was just thinking about making more money, making more money. But what do you think was the problem? I didn't have self-control because I didn't have a budgeting plan. When I'm making money and spending it, it is money is just going out. Just picture it as you have a, a bowl, right? You have a jar with holes in it, and then you get a water hose, and you're just putting water in that bucket, right? And you're wondering why the bucket can't stay filled because water is coming out of the bucket, right? You're not filling in the holes. That's the same thing what we do with our money. We're not understanding how to keep our money to ourselves. That's the reason why this is important, right? Because it's just about understanding about having a blueprint, right? Having the foundation. Because the problem with a lot of us is you're gonna be successful, you're gonna make money, but you're gonna end up losing it all because you never treated yourself like you already had it, how to maintain it. You don't know how to maintain it. You think once I get it, then I will be able to maintain it. And that's not true. If you can't maintain the lifestyle that you have now, right? How you think you're going to maintain a lifestyle when you're already successful? You're going to treat the lifestyle the same way. Because like my example, making 50,000, then my job, what happened? I got a raise. Then I was making 60,000, 65,000 a year. The more money I've ever made in my life. But how come at the end of 2 weeks, I was still living check to check? Then I started making 80,000 a year. And guess what happened? I was still in the same cycle. Every time I was living check to check, I felt like I could never get ahead, right? And it turned to a point where trading was for me was getting way more better, right? I was getting the financial freedom, but how come my money was never really compounding? Even though I was making more money, I still had habits as the majority of people in society, right? I was still spending recklessly. I wasn't understanding where my money was going left and right. So once I started understanding that part, right, it was it was an eye opener for me because I had everybody else's mindset. I was living like everybody else. And it came into my trading career where I was doing well as a trader, but I never got to that next step ahead, right? Because at my trading, I made over $200,000, most money I've ever made in my life. But the way I was managing my money was the same way I was managing it when I was working a 9 to 5 job. I had the same mentality, right? So I had to learn this stuff because I'm like, damn, even if I had $1 million right now, I'll be in the same situation. So what helped me was a framework, 50, 30, 20 method, right? 50% of my money go to my needs. 30% of my money go to my wants. 20% goes to investings or savings, right? So when I started, and it was just a framework, like you guys could use it, but do it for whatever fits your interests, right? Because what's going to happen is we're 50% is your needs, is your bills, important bills, your like obviously your rent, car note, phone, electricity, stuff like that, water. Your wants is like stuff like going out to dinner with the family, like stuff like that on the side. Investment and savings, you understand what that is, right? So when I started doing that, the whole purpose of the blueprint, at first I had an ego. I was like, man, make more money. I don't need this. But I was very undisciplined, and that's the problem. Because if you're not having discipline in trading, you're not having discipline in making money, right, in your personal life, How are you going to be a disciplined trader? How are you going to know to not overtrade? How are you going to use proper risk management? How you know to not be greedy? How are you going to start compounding your trades, right? Because you could just see just that alone, how you handle your personal life, your personal finances is going to move into your trading career. Because if you're very undisciplined, right, when you finally start making money in trading, how, all that money is going to go to waste like you do at a 9 to 5 job, right? Because it doesn't matter if you're trading, you're making money the same way. But how you handle it is what's going to hurt you in the long run, right? So this is why I think this is important for you long term to focus on these things, right? Because the long term payoff is what's important. Discipline compounds, all right? The way you manage those small wins and you keep stacking them, it's just discipline, mental discipline, how this could just evolve into your whole life. This is why I'm giving you guys this management, this video, right? Because budgeting is not a punishment, right? It's preparation. Because now if you start understanding that life is about building blueprints, schedules, strategies, because we're just taught by society, wake up and live life and be on autopilot. And that's the problem. When you keep living in autopilot, right, things is going to happen that doesn't make, like, obviously you just forcing yourself to not have control of, but you could have control of your spending. TV turned off. Yeah, that's fine. You could control your spending. You can control your trading, right? You can control how much you lose in per trade. You can control how much you lose per trade. We act like we don't have that control, but you do. You have the control of how much I want to lose per trade, how much I want to gain, right? You can control that, how much profit I want to make. We make it seem like we don't have that type of control because it's not being taught to us. The same way when it comes to managing and budgeting your money, right? We're not being taught this. And if you don't intentionally seek that information, you're never going to find it, because the majority of society, right, they get paid, they just do what they see everybody else do. But we can't do that, guys. Why? Because you want a life that is way different from what you see. You want a life from what you see from people's 30-second reels, right? But you can do it. But it starts with this. It starts with the blueprint. So this is why I did this video for you guys, man, because I know you're capable of doing it. And if you want to do it, you have to start making those changes now. Because if you continue to go through this with that 9 to 5 mindset, trading is not going to work because you're acting like a 9 to 5 worker, right? So if you're making money trading, like right now, what I do, if I make a withdrawal, right? So every time I withdraw, that's what I do. 50% for bills, 30% for my wants, 20% put in my savings, investings, and all of that stuff. And I do that every single time. Once the money hit my bank account, I split it up right away. No thought, anything. I know exactly where my money goes, right? And when you guys start applying that, you're just going to see how the discipline is going to start spilling out to other parts of your life. Okay, guys? Hopefully this was helpful. Again, please like, right? So the algorithms could push this video out to other traders. You know, I wish I had this type of content when I was beginning in my trading career, right? Instead of just watching videos of like how I made $100,000 today. But again, guys, if you guys are interested in learning more in fundamentals, link is in the bio, right, for the private group, okay? And also you can message me on IG if you want to have a conversation with me so I can help you guys out in life, all right? Hopefully, love you guys. Peace.